Right, so we've still got terraforming, we've got sewers, water placement, the skyline. We can do all this in a 1 hour, I think. So this is like basically, so terraforming and the skyline and the sewers all make sense, tie in with it, with each other. So as I mentioned at the start of the video, the first thing I built was actually the canal, and the canal is raised off the floor. To obviously I can't sink the canal into the ground, so of course it's raised above. If you ever deleted anything on this game to the map, you'll realise that you can't obviously go through the map. So yeah, so it's raised up about well, so about 30 feet maybe total up to where the ground level is. And we're going to go and have a look over the top now. And as you see, all the terraforming, this is why sort of it ties in, it's all just rocks and boulders that I've stole from around the area. Look how bare the map is. It's all just, I've literally stole everything that I can use, and yeah, used on there. And then, as you see, it's raised up now. And the reason why you can see through it is obviously because Bethesda make a lot of these textures just one-sided, because they never a plan for you to be able to obviously move them. And you'll notice a lot of the buildings in the game, if you ever delete stuff that shouldn't be deleted, you'll have this kind of see-through effect. So you can kind of, it looks pretty cool. You can see underneath the build. So yeah, so that's the floor that we're looking at now, where that brick is. It's quite high off the ground, but so yeah, so I raised the whole build up and started building elevated, and then like this presents a problem later on for me, because originally when I deleted everything, I had no intentions of putting the bridge back in. I hadn't really planned, which is unusual for me actually. I hadn't really planned out how I was going to get into the build. I thought to myself, okay, well, maybe I'm going to go from that angle over there where the vault leads to. I wasn't really sure, but I took the bridge out because I had really no intention of showing anything to do with Sanctuary. I wanted this to be very, like, as far from Sanctuary as possible. But then as I started to build, I realised that it looked so far from Sanctuary that people wouldn't even realise it was. And even if I said it was, they'd probably call me a liar or something. So I thought, well, let's put the bridge back in. But now, as you see from where the height of the settlement is, putting the bridge back in presented me with this really big drop that at the time I was like, oh, how am I going to merge that height back up with this height? Yeah, bit of a pain. But the solution was this piece, which is again from Fallout 4 guys requested. I won't pick this up because picking up big parts now in this build is very hit and miss. I can't scroll through the build menu while I'm in the build; it'll crash. That's only the game was at its end. So so yeah, I won't pick this up. But basically, it's pretty much as you see it there. It's kind of like it's a little bit wider. But yeah, that whole piece, it's the Vault 88 piece is like the ramps. There's a couple of variations of it, but that's the one that I chose. And then these smaller pieces, I should be able to pick these up. These are just small, like kind of slopey little bits. Again, from the same pack in my requested mod, and there's lots of these. Look, these are all exactly the same piece, just lots of different ones to kind of make the shape of the terrain, just give it a little bit of a bump here and there, and slowly bring down the gradient. That's pretty much why I've used so many of them, just to bring it down. Otherwise, it was too much of a drop off. And then just bring it down just enough to merge back with the bridge. And then the bridge itself, if you've ever removed this, you probably know, but the bridge hasn't got like the best merger into the ground, because Bethesda have done exactly what I've done. They've done exactly the same, but they've used dirt and their sidewalk pieces and their road pieces to kind of cover the fact that the bridge is all just like a really rough texture break. Basically, it's all like unfinished. So yeah, I've merged that over, and then to hide the unfinished bridge piece, I've just built this cattle grate thing over the top, which is also from Fallout 4 guy requested parts. These are the pool pieces from my mod, just to make the framework. And then the grate itself is just a whole cage from the Nuka DLC. I think this is from USO, just sunk into the floor. And then I've just got some dirt piles, and they're from Grounded. And then some are more the gravel, just to kind of look like it's collected in there. And then because of the slope running down, it looks like water would gather, so I've just put a piece of water in there as well, just to kind of, a bit more interesting and also make it look a bit more realistic. But the main challenge then, once you've kind of got the ground kind of matched up, is just building on it. Like building on a slope isn't really. I actually didn't realize how difficult it would be to build on a slope. But you've got. I mean, that's like the back of the hotel. So that's like the tallest building it's coming off of. And if you look at the drop, in height all the way down, it's quite a big jump up. So you want to taper your buildings off down slowly so they kind of match and they slowly like decline as they go down the hill. But you've got to have foundations at each point to kind of to make sure the building's level, so that people can enter it. Like if you was really having this in real life, you'd have these foundations and they step down like, and like the difference of having just say one side step down, like I have there, and then having the other one just having the same is it's pretty boring to look at. So I decided to kind of make this a bit more interesting as I step down. So on this little bit, we've got a sort of a tiny bit of a flat area that I've just put in, and these sewers, which I will cover in a second, these are sort of everywhere, just to kind of look like they somehow merge in back to the middle canal. So there's little bits of water everywhere. Now imagine there's like pipes and things. Well, there is pipes that all sort of drop down into these, even from inside the building, and you've got these like open sewers and stuff. It's dirty looking, but like kind of makes the place look more realistic. So yeah, building down the slope, man, yeah, not easy. And I did do a few different versions. This wasn't the first. This whole section, this corner section here, I think I rebuilt that about 3 times. I just really wasn't happy with how it was looking. So it's a case of sometimes just keep trying different things, and then I finally was happy with it. And then this area, once I put that in, and I was close, it was like, okay, now how do I just taper down? Just one more step down again, step down, another foundation in, look, and then you just literally up to the door, and it was okay. So it's followed a nice drop, but still keeping the tall buildings in. These buildings are a bit more scrappy looking. So again, the same thing as you look when it sort of, I followed the theme of tapering it down in the height as it come down, but a more of a dirty kind of wooden poor looking, which is what this area is meant to be, that the poor area. There's a reason I did that. Just just before I carry on with the terraforming. Once I'd built this middle bit, the main part, and that was meant to be like the nice area, I knew how far to go with the slummy area then. So when you build this next, like obviously it's got to look shitter than that bit. That's pretty much it. It's got to look like more scummy than that part. So, right. Anyway, back onto the terraform. So wait till you see this. So basically, yeah, you've got that drop down now, and this is the bit where I'm going to take away all the smoke and mirrors now of the building. Obviously, you've just seen underneath the map, but yeah, like the skyline. So that was the other question. I'm going to lump all these together. The skyline is obviously fake, and if you're used to my builds, you'll know I kind of do the movie set style builds, where you've got like a front to it, and it's all just a big set. And so this is based off of those art pieces that, if you've ever seen where they do these massive sculptures, and if you look at it from one way, it's like just nothing, it's garbage. There's just like pieces everywhere. And then as you turn, you slowly line up the sculpture in your line of sight, it becomes like a face or something. Yeah, that's pretty much what I've done with that. And I'll show you behind it now. So the alleyway that you can see down, look, that's kind of like my access to get back here easily and quickly. And there you go, that's how it looks. So yeah, you're either disappointed or you're impressed. I don't know which one, but everything is built just to the bare minimum of what is needed to be seen from the bridge. So there's no wasted textures, if I can help it. Like everything is kind of just what's peeping out like a little bit. And then of course the distance is the other thing that's important, like getting things to look like they're in perspective. You're dropping things back just enough that they don't drop out of the draw distance, that the game doesn't load them up anymore. But you want it to obviously, still look far away, kind of things, like the factory there and the windmill. and of course the little train pulling into what would be a station here if it existed. It would be pulling into some kind of like where they're loading off all their cargo. There's all like what wood and coal and stuff in there. There's probably a little type of track thing going on there. but yeah, so everything kind of like looks like shit from here, but you know, it's all designed to look like a certain way from that one perspective. And as you can see from behind the whole build here, you know, it's an absolute mess. Look at that. It just looks shit. But of course, I mean, this is where I said about removing the smoke and mirrors. You know, I don't even think if it was on PC, you could have interiors and have full buildings to this. I don't think the game engine would take it even on PC. I think there's a limit, no matter what system you're on, to what this engine can take. And it's definitely, I've hit it for the PlayStation. It might be a little bit more on the PC, but I don't know. But it certainly hasn't affected my frames per second. So that's why the game itself, I think, has just had enough. Look, there's Codsworth. I told you I'd done nothing when I came out the vault. Just Sanctuary was the first place I came to. I hadn't even done the quest. Look, he's just buried underneath the map. And there's the workbench. That gives you an idea of where we actually are. So this would be the house where Sturge is always fixing but never does shit. So yeah, it gives you an idea. So the workbench is still there. And yeah, you can see all the shit behind it. And also see why, even if I wanted to do interiors, a lot of the time it's just not possible with this type of build, because there's so much things poking through that, you know, you just couldn't do a building this interesting architecturally and have an interior to them. Just wouldn't happen. So if we go underneath the slope now, so this is yeah, you get an idea now the height. You see about how high I am above the actual map, and why without the slope it would have been really hard to try and, you know, meet that bridge again with the build, like tie it all in together. Very steep gradient it would have been if I didn't have a slope. And then the terraforming itself, you know, like I mentioned just before, it's all just pulled from surrounding area, all the rocks, all the river banks, you know, that's in the what do you call it, the canal. I'll go back to that now and just show you that as well. So yeah, all these little riverbanks, that's all from the surrounding area. These grass mound things, they're quite big, but I've just sunk them in to kind of make this look. So this isn't a mod, you know, like it's already in the game, but you need a mod to move it. You need scrap that settlement or scrap the Commonwealth. Well, both really. I suggest running both of them so you can cover all your ground, because some of them take some items, some don't. So yeah, so I'll just put all those in to kind of give it a bit of a realistic look to it, and then the debris I've just added just stuff just to make it look shitty. Fungus and other garbage. You know, there's like a pipe coming off there, so there's like a whole garbage collection, and there's this horrible like dirt in the water. That's from CVA, as is the water. So yeah, that's the magic shattered there. So now when you look at that skyline in the distance there, look, you know, and you see that, it does help sell the kind of scale of the place, even though you know you can't get there. You know, you see that kind of like, no matter where you stand, you think, oh, okay, there's like stuff all over there, and it just helps kind of make it look big. So it's definitely worth it. And same as why I put the rocks and things in the distance there, they just help kind of fill in those gaps, which you can't obviously do with actual functional buildings, because you just run out of budget too quick. So yeah, so then when you go back to this little bit now, you kind of it kind of moves the right way. Things pop up in the way that they should, as in, I don't mean pop up, sorry, I think things align in the way they should. As you move, it all moves, because the distance is right, so the perspectives change. So it took a lot of time to go back and forward, you know, just keep coming back and adjusting something and coming back to see that everything looks right and there's no gaps in between the buildings, like, you know, because of course when you do jump above the wall, you see it just looks like fucking shit. I always think it's funny, like even though I've seen it so many times, every time I look at that, I think, what the hell? It looks hilarious. But yeah, and same with the other side, obviously. Just nothing. Yeah. So yeah. So water placement. So that brings me on to that. This is actually something I can't really demonstrate on this actual build because, like I said, I can't open my build menu and scroll through anymore. It just crashes. But water placement is done through CVA is the best mod for water, really. It's got pretty much every bit of water in the game. There are other mods that have some water in as well, but yeah, I just use CVA. If you tried to place water with CVA, you'll know why someone's asked about water placement, because it's very, very big and very difficult to place on any terrain, really. But not just because of the how fussy it is about how flat. You can't have any objects in the way. You need to delete anything that's just going to cause collision. But then the other thing is the height. You need to be high. Water's so big, and we can't fly on PlayStation. So if you're a PlayStation user, you probably think, well, I'm going to get high. You've got to build ladders and something. So just build stairs. I normally build about 4, 5, 6, depending on, you know, some varies. So you want to build 6 staircases high at least, and then walk up the staircases. And there's a video on this done by QwaPA. He's the one that really is kind of the master at all these kind of techniques of knowing how to do these difficult placements of things. And yeah, he's done a video. Just check his channel out, basically, because if you want to know how to use QwaPA, he's the guy to sort of have. He's got the best guide, I think, out there. He's in like our series, but he's also got little other tips as well. Plus, he's got amazing builds. So check out QwaPA. But yeah, so basically you got to get high, and then you want to do a thing. So oh, can I show this? If I get away from, all right, we're safe to scroll here. If I'm too close to the settlement, it just crashes. So when you're high, you've got your controls to move your thingy around, your object, whatever it is. In this case, it'd be water, and we can place it up, yeah. But as you get 6 stories up, you won't be able to move that far down. So what you want to do, you want to get your item really high by using the controls to put it up as high as possible, like that. We're really high now, and then now imagine I'm 6 stories up now. Look how far away that is, and I'm now going up, and I'm still able to touch the floor with it because the camera's so far up in the air. So that's what you want to do to when you're so high, because you're thinking, oh, you get 6 stories up and you're thinking you might be able to touch the floor, which you won't be able to with the normal controls. So that's how you get it up. You just go up as high as you can, straight up in the air, and then when you pull the camera down, it'll be that far away. And yeah, and then once you've done that, of course, you'll need a place anywhere mod and QwaPA, obviously, on PlayStation, to be able to move that object into place, and that's how you place the water, basically. Real short kind of explanation, but if you check out QwaPA, there's a better actual guide about how to do it in there, and that goes for every big item. So all those cliffs and rocks and things you see there, they're all placed from a great height. I had a tower built somewhere over where the train bridge is, going up, like, you know, up into the sky, basically, and that's where I placed all the stuff that I pulled from the edges of the map, because you can pick it up, but you can't place it with QwaPA until it's been placed by you as a player. So you need to be able to have a spot to place all these big items first before you can interact with it. So yeah, right. Right, set pieces and NPCs. I don't think anybody asked about the set pieces, but for me, set pieces are so important that I can't believe like that people don't really include them more, you know, like and when I talk about set pieces, I don't necessarily mean just an NPC in a shop. That's not really what I mean. I mean, like, so when I create a set piece, I create like a story with a set piece or something like that. You don't need me to tell you about it just to be able to see what's happened. So this is a really obvious one, so I'm kind of looking at this one, but yeah, so he's obviously you know, like some kind of lawbreaker, criminal, whatever, and we've got rule breakers written on top of there. But like, the thing that makes it a set piece or tells a story is, yeah, he's in the pillory thing, trapped him. But we've got all this, like, I've put this fruit and rotten food on the floor, and then we've got rats which are from CVA. No, they're not. Sorry, they're from USO. These ones actually. These are from USO. Um, like, you know, kind of they obviously there because of all the food and rotten stuff. So straight away it's gone from just like an NPC in the thing, in a situation, whatever that may be. In this case, the pillory, like, to then having, like, well, we've got people that are throwing stuff at him. Now we've got the animals that have gone for the food. It doesn't need much explanation, but it adds a lot. You know, like, it just adds like life to it. Like, and he's another example. Just a guy sitting on the floor. It's not a big deal. Like, it's nothing really. It just adds something because he's got his suitcases there, his bags. He's got a for rent sign above where you assume he lived, and then you've got like a notice stuck on the door, which is like an eviction sign. So, and obviously I've used the sad ground sit emotion. So he's animation. Sorry. So he's obviously, like, you know, not having a good time from that. And again, that's another set piece. It just tells a little story. Um, you know, this kind of stuff adds to. I think this is what sets my builds apart from the average build. Well, I say the average. There's a lot of good builders out there that I think do outstanding work and stuff, but I don't see many people actually go to the storytelling part, like, you know, like I do. Um, this little alleyway, you know, homeless people will probably be hanging around in there or on savouries. Before the game gave up, actually, there's a reason why this is unfinished. So I purposely built the alleyways with a modular kind of theme to it. That I was like, okay, well, if the game lets me keep going, then I will then extend this. And I was going to have this leading down to a little kind of London pokey, you know, Victorian style, very windy, very narrow shops, and there was going to be all sorts of, like, you know, unsavoury kind of characters that were going to be hanging around on there. Very London Jack the Ripper type thing, I was thinking, and yeah, and it was going to connect up with something that I had planned for the same thing up the top by the where the pub is, and there's like a bookshop up there. It was going to connect up to that, but because I had absolutely no idea, and I was in such a, you know, uncharted territory with the PlayStation 5. I didn't know how much it was going to let me do. It just kept going. I was like, well, you know, when do I call it? Because I didn't want to get halfway through building something and not be able to finish it. And of course, that's happened before, even on my PlayStation Pro, when I was like not experienced to how much I could push it. So I built this as like a fail safe, really, of, well, if I can't build through that way, then it doesn't matter, because I built it in a way that you can't really see down there to see that it's not finished, you know. So it gives the illusion. So yeah, but like, just going back to the NPCs and the set pieces. So yeah, so you want to place them in ways that I think have an interesting thing, like a story to them, you know, not just some vendor or whatever. Like, and you can do that as well with not just the animation you choose, but the clothing that you put them in. Like, all my NPCs are dressed in outfits I've picked, with the exception of her. Actually, she comes with that, but that's because the children's outfits are very, very limited. Like, he's obviously like, so he works at the hotel, but he's in a suit, and he's come out, like, maybe he's the manager, and he's come out to sweep the leaves off. You know, like that kind of thing. And then you've got the local drug dealer. You know, kind of like, I could have had him like a lab coat or something, but it looked more like a bit of a street peddling vendor rather than an actual professor. Like, what I'm trying to say is, I doubt he's got any kind of medical knowledge whatsoever. He's just some guy that calls himself the professor, and he's selling drugs to some fucking peasants that don't know shit, and they're just there going, "Yeah, doc, help me out." That's kind of how I imagine. So I dressed him in a very, like, kind of saley type clothing, really, rather than professional doctor clothing, because he probably isn't a doctor. And his little cart, I did say I'd mention this as well. It's just made out of the chemistry bench, as you can see, and then the vendor cart from Nuka World, and then I've just put some, like, wood and the drug sign obviously on top of it. Nothing really major, like the lights from CVA, and the graffiti, the writings from, I think there's two mods that have the same thing. It's either from CVA or from Akiras Clutter in the graffiti section, but either way they have the same pieces. But yeah, so yeah, so like I thought that was like this is the thing. I thought it was quite kind of cool to kind of have certain like stories being told in each area. Just giving it like again, these are another good example. Like so, this area I wanted it to look like it's been rebuilt, but instead of like just building a bunch of buildings that look unfinished or whatever, just by putting this little tiny area in that's got these guys working, yeah, it just gives you the impression that something's happening, construction's happening or whatever. They had a building that was maybe on fire. Looks like it's had some fire damage, and they're fixing it up or whatever, and working from that really. That's kind of another set piece, and then there's another sewer, by the way. Just going back to that, they tie in a little bit with the sewer that's in the middle. So I've got people chatting, nothing really major there. There's another shop. So yeah, so kind of this is like storytelling without actually having to say anything, or without having to write like in my description. That's another thing. No one reads a description. Like most people ask me what mods they use, so I know they don't read the description because my mods are always in there. But like the writing the little story, the backstory of your build, like I mean, it's great and all, but very few people are going to bother to read that. Whereas if you tell a little tiny story, even if it's just a tiny little thing with your set pieces, I think that goes a long way, and I think people will find your builds have more character. So yeah, I'm looking at these hay bales. Somebody mentioned the hay bales. Scrappy Builds, his name is another good builder. Check out his channel. And I was quite. I'd be bothered if people mention these type of things to me normally, but I had to have a smile because of all the people that I thought would ask, he probably would be one of the people that I assumed would notice such a thing. If if you're a special effects artist and people notice your effects, and they're meant to be like realistic effects going on, you've probably not done your job right. That's the way I kind of look at it. So I don't want people to notice things like this necessarily. I want them to look so natural that you don't really think too much about it. But if you're obviously a Fallout 4 builder and you've done and in a level that you've done tilting and stuff, then of course you do notice them. But for the reason that you're admiring the fact that it is unnoticeable, if that makes sense. So yeah, so if something's been done right that's meant to look natural, then hopefully you don't notice it. That's kind of my goal. And these hay bales are tilted in a way that I didn't want people to really think they looked unnatural. And the weight of them pushing on the fence, bringing the fence forward, again, all helps to kind of sell that there's actual physics involved in the weight of them. They feel, like they're there. And this is the stuff that, I hope people don't notice as such, but subtly you notice it. A bit like my bathroom mirror that I did in my Tommy's bar, my build before this, and I had to kind of say to people, "Well, do you like the mirror?" Because people didn't notice it, and I didn't take it as an insult that people didn't like it or anything like that. They didn't comment on it. It was just the fact that it was done hopefully so well that nobody thought it stood out. It didn't jump out of them. There was anything wrong. It just looked like a reflection. So, but of course, I built this mirror, and it was a lot of work and stuff. So, but yeah, it's a case of it like sort of done well. And then just like more kind of stuff going on with the street vendors and stuff, just more interesting things that kind of make the place look alive. This little woman, whatever, Kira, painting her thing. The shame I couldn't get a better paint animation, but unfortunately, like that was all that was there. She looks like she's like whitewashing it or something. And then we've got the grifter people here, obviously. Nothing too fancy, but again sells like the idea that there's people here sort of profiting in like con men on, again, the poorer people in town already got no money and they're going to lose even more on this guy's stupid little cup and ball con. We've got flower vendors and the the fruit and veg vendor. Nothing much to say about them really. So okay, so funny enough, PS5 performance came up quite a lot. I know this is nothing to do with the build, but apparently people were interested about what it's like building on the PS5. So, I'm gonna, if I've got anything else, because I'll stick that at the end. No, I think I've covered everything, to be honest. I think I have. Terraforming. Yeah, so I'll talk about PS5 now. So if you're not really interested in what it's like being on the PS5, you don't have to stick around for this, because this is obviously like not related to the build so much. But yeah, so PS5, nothing. I'll like do the disappointing stuff first of all. Nothing has changed on the PS5 in terms of what bugs and glitches are available. They're all there. It's exactly the same as the PS4. It literally is just an emulator. So yeah, everything that sucked about building on PS4 is the same. Yeah, in terms of glitches, even the 0 kilobyte bug that's still here. Everything's here. What you do get though is the performance boost. Now, obviously, you can see how much stuff you can build, so there is that. You can see that the draw distance is better, like nothing's popping in as such. Shadows seem to be better, although I noticed on the original tour that when I put the tour up, the HDR did not process on the video as well as it looks for me in the game. So if you're watching this now and you're watching it in the highest resolution, which would be 4K, even though the game isn't in 4K, the video is recording 4K. It should say HDR next to your resolution as well. So if you put that on, it should look different to how it looks without it, obviously. But it still doesn't look as it does on my TV. So I'm not sure how that's working, but the PlayStation looks way better on my TV than it does on the video. But on the screenshots, it looks like it does on my TV. So don't know what's going on there. So the shadows are really deep and rich on the screenshots and everything. So I'm not sure if the PS is doing that or the TV, or I don't know. I don't know how it's working. But there's definitely a boost in performance in terms of the distance it's drawing stuff. And of course the frame rate. I showed you the spin round. I won't do it again because make people feel sick. But you can see straight away, I mean, it's smooth. Like there's no drops in frame rate at all. And that's saying something because obviously you can see how much detail's in this build and how much stuff I put down. And to the point that I can't go through the menus without it crashing. So the game is obviously at its limit. There's 30 NPCs in here. Did have a few more, but they died. They fell in the water and drowned. So yeah, so like it's, that normally would be enough to break most of the consoles. Like I've built big on PS4 Pro. Manuka City had 4 or 5 times over the limit, I think. I can't remember now, but it was bigger than this. Couldn't have any NPCs, just wouldn't allow it. The game just couldn't handle it. And then I done a Nuka Town, which I had NPCs in, but I didn't have as many. I think I had like 20 something maybe. And then that wasn't as big, but again, that broke. It couldn't handle anymore. So this is by far the most I've built, with say 30 NPCs in. So yeah, so that's there. And then the other thing is the loading. Like definitely loads faster. My workshop was opening in 7 seconds when I first got to the location before I built anything. It went to about 8 halfway through, and now it's at about 14 seconds because of all the amount of stuff I've got and scrapped and stuff like that. So it just takes longer the more things you've got. But that's still 14 seconds is like, and that's at this stage. That's ridiculous for me. My workshop would open in 45 seconds at the start of a build and over a minute near the end of the build. And again, like you might not know about how to tilt on PlayStation, but you have to open and close your workshop between every single tilt. So something like this that took me 350 hours would probably take me 450 hours on fucking PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4 because of the workbench speeds being so slow. It would just slow me down so much. I'm just literally waiting for one workbench to open pretty much the majority of the time when I'm building on that. So yeah, massive improvement for me. The fact that I only have to wait a maximum of 14 or 15 seconds or whatever at this stage, compared to over a minute on PS4 Pro. And on the PS4, it's been so long since I built on the actual PS4, I can't even remember. But that would be insanely long, that would just be ridiculous. So yeah, so Definitely recommend building on a PS5, and this is without any enhancement patches from Bethesda. If they ever patched it for, like an upgraded version for PS5, then I'm sure it would look as good, if not better, than PC, because PC can be hit and miss. I've seen some really terrible looking PC versions that like I need like a really beefy PC to handle some of the graphic improvement mods, whereas I think the PlayStation would probably be done in a more user friendly way where there was no conflicts of certain things and it would just be universally looking good. So so I recommend it, but at the same time, don't think it's going to ever change the fact that the game is still buggy, that you're still going to get the 0 kilobyte thing going on, and that's not a big deal, by the way. I need to do a video on that. I hear a lot of people moan about the 0 kilobyte thing ruining their play, and they quit PlayStation because of that. Yeah, it's not, honestly, it's not a big deal. I need to do a video. I'll do something on that, just telling people how to avoid, and if not avoid it, how to completely just bypass it completely, and it's not a problem. But I won't talk about that now. It's a longer thing. Yes, right. Okay, my voice is going. I've been talking so long. I hope I've talked about everything you want to talk about. I hope I've added stuff in that I thought was worthwhile talking about. And yeah, I think that's probably the end now. Let me just literally just run around just in case. But no, I reckon that's about it really. If there's anything else that I missed, ask in the comments of this video, of course, and I'll try and type your answers. Just on a side note, actually, about that, thank you so much to everyone that's commented. Honestly, you sure know how to make someone feel loved. I felt the love, guys. You honestly, like, the amount of like lovely things, the praise and stuff you've said about this build, and just me in general as a builder or whatever. It's overwhelming. I don't even know how to reply half the time. I try to reply to everyone, and I try to give you a response. Like whatever, a relevant one, not some generic response. But it's like it's always so difficult when someone's constantly going, "Oh my God, this is you're the best," and all this stuff. I'm like, shit, I don't even know what to say to that. So it's always just overwhelming. But thank you so much for all the support, and thank you for like just sticking around and waiting. Like I know it took a long time to sort of get another build out, but yeah, just appreciate it. Thanks, guys. And I hope you've liked this. I hope it's been insightful. I hope you've kind of taken something from my build methods or whatever. And like I say, feel free to ask more questions in the comments. And I'll see you in the next one. And maybe I'll be doing some sort of tutorial type thing on QwaPA, and not so much QwaPA, but how to kind of do some of the tricks and tips and things that maybe you guys don't know about. But I think Werty's covered it all, to be honest. But I'll definitely do something on the 0 kilobyte thing. That's probably the next little video I'll do that's got a tip on it. Yeah, I think I'll do that. So until then, guys, I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye for now.